So, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank everyone for coming out today on this beautiful November day. I mean, great weather. It's hard to believe Thanksgiving's right around the corner. Wanted to remind everyone that this Sunday, 2 o'clock, we'll have our Veterans Day Parade. It'll start at the Baptist Church by CVS, several stops. I did post it on our social media pages where we'll be going, and then we'll have a ceremony down on the Common. Hopefully you can all join us there. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the police department. So we'll start with, as I was walking up here, the front page of the paper today was the puppies. So we had that incident, the investigation in the Blackstone River where someone had discarded 6 puppies. There was a couple of kayakers coming down, heard some whimpering, and came to their rescue. And very glad to report they're all doing very well. All the puppies are doing very, very well. And I'm getting a lot of calls. In fact, I got an email yesterday from someone from New Zealand, getting calls from people from Georgia, Arkansas, all over the country wanting to adopt these dogs. So what we decided to do, and several phone calls today, is if you want to adopt a dog or an animal or a cat, I think it's very important you're doing it for the right reasons. You really want the dog. And these are kind of celebrity dogs that kind of touch people, so they really want to get involved. So what we're saying to people is there are so many animals out there that need to be adopted, and please contact your local shelters. So how we're handling this, quite frankly, is they're going to be adopted, these dogs, just like any other dog. So people who actually want dogs are going to be adopting these animals, and then once they're adopted, we'll then tell the new owners where these dogs came from, that they're the river pups. So that's the best way to do it. I mean, family members, friends, it's just so many, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of requests. So the best way to do it is we're going to be anonymous. I can't tell you that one of the kayakers who saved them, he made a request, and he will be getting one of these dogs. So there'll be 5 that'll be adopted. We thought that was very fitting. Just out of the goodness of his heart, doesn't want any recognition, but really did a wonderful thing. This morning, the officers made a really good arrest. Person struggled with him a little bit. Glad to report no one was hurt. Crystal meth, needles, drugs, heroin, money. It's out there. So again, we're dealing with the opioid crisis and drug addiction. And if anyone needs assistance, we have partnered with Family Continuity in Northbridge, the Blackstone Valley Police Departments. If anyone needs assistance, please contact us, and we'll get you the help. It's a grant program. Very proud to be a part of. We promoted it today. Things are going well. As the police department goes, our town manager has left. I just wanted to publicly say a nice thank you to David Genero. He was a good boss to the police department, the town of Uxbridge. We have an interim town manager right now. His name is David Colton. Hopefully we can get him down here to meet you. We actually have a department head meeting next Monday for a meet and greet with him, so I'll get to know him, and he's going to keep us moving forward. I'm also a part of the search committee with several other board members and employees in town and residents to really try to get this search going for our next town manager. It's very important that we move forward. Budget cycles is among us right now to get going. So again, I want to thank everyone for coming out. The first Friday of every month. I look forward to next Friday. We're going to have Dr. Lutton, who's here with us today. He's going to be speaking. Today we have our DPW Director Ben Sherman again here to tell you what he does. I want to recognize Susan Franz from our Finance Committee who's here today. Jen Modica, one of our selectmen who's here today. Very thankful to have this support for our municipal departments. And last but not least, this is Nolan Demers. He is our intern. He's a Uxbridge High School student, and I brought him today to kind of show some of the outreach programs that we do here. He's doing a really wonderful job for us, and we're really happy to be a part of that program. We have a criminal justice elective at Uxbridge High School. It started with 1 class a semester, and now we're up to 2 classes. It's very popular. So it's very important that we're inclusive of the senior center, of our schools, of all those churches, different groups, to try to make Uxbridge the community that it is. It's a wonderful place to live, work, and visit. So again, I want to thank you as your police chief for allowing me to come in and speak to you the first Friday of every month. I know I probably missed a few things, but I'll turn it over to Marcia to say a few words. We'll serve you lunch, and then I'll introduce DPW Ben Sherman He can tell you all the wonderful things going on over at Oh, and I forgot about his trusty assistant, too, who's here, Mr. Moranti. But hey, Masha, thank you again for having us.
So much, Chief.
Thanks.
It's always so nice to have the chief here and to meet the young up-and-coming police officers potentially of the town. It's nice to have Nolan here. It's nice to have Paul here and my fellow colleague, Ben. Our DPW keeps our grass so green. They mow our lawn, and right now I can't thank them enough for helping us put up a new flagpole. We have a new flag that we want to raise, and Peter and Pete and Cole have been working to get that up, and they're going to do it right. They want to do a good job. So we're hoping that by Veterans Day, we'll have a nice flag ceremony, and we hope people can come to that. So without further ado, we'll just take a moment to give thanks for all that we have in this community, for one another, and for our department heads. And we look forward to Ben giving us some more information about the DPW, okay? We'll just take a moment to give thanks.
All right, we're going to get things going here, everybody. Before I introduce Ben Sherman, just to let everybody know, you may see some of our officers, including the chief, with some whiskers this month. It's an initiative called NoShave November, and it's to support cancer research and awareness. So a bunch of us are trying to participate. I'm going to go as long as I can, but that's why you'll see some officers with some facial hair this month. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our DPW Director Extraordinaire, Ben Sherman.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. It's been a while. I think the last time that I officially spoke was back in April timeframe. There are some notes that I'm passing around or having passed around just on some speaking topics. I'll be kind of going over them as I work through my little talk here, but I figured it'd be good too if you want to read and take a look at what's going on. I tried to give you a brief overview of the major activities. As the chief indicated, I do have Paul Moranti here. He's the highway supervisor. So any and all highway-related questions, he will be more than happy to help answer. But in general, like the chief had mentioned, there's a lot going on in Uxbridge. The police are doing a lot. We got the fire station that's very active across the street. All the department heads are working feverishly on new initiatives and new programs at the senior center. Town clerk doing rolling out the electronic voting this year, which was great. So there are a lot of nice things going on, and DPW is definitely included in that bunch. One of the things that in the office that I've been dealing with a lot lately is a transition over to an electronic service request system. We've officially moved away from the old phone notes and post-it notes that so and so called while you were out. We've had an interim system in place, but this one is more robust. It allows us to track things much better. We can see how long things are sitting out there. We can look at the age of certain requests. We can look at what's transitioned into a work order and when that was completed, how it was completed, who completed it. And we have the flexibility to add a variety of documents to that because things are so mobile and dynamic these days that, I'll use highway as an example. We might get a call about a pothole. And, that results in having to go out and fix that pothole, but maybe it's a more in-depth fix. Maybe it had something to do with the sewer line or a sewer manhole. So it allows us to cross-reference all these issues to the various division staff so that they are addressed accordingly. So that's an internal change that we've made, and it's actually being accepted very well within the department. There's always a little resistance to change. However, everybody, even the highway guys, have taken to it quite well. We've implemented some of the iPad tablets so they can use in the field, and that is directly linked into this system. So it takes away some of that downtime from having to get the message, go out in the field, fix it, come back in the office, and address the response, whether it's by email or by phone. So that's a big internal change that we've made in the office, to just streamline our operations and be better accountable to the public on those service request calls. Another piece to that we are hopefully going to be rolling out very soon is a true citizen engagement piece. It's called SeeClickFix. There are a number of communities out there that employ this technology. You can access this through smartphones, through the internet. It's a mechanism by which the public, whether it's residents in town, people that are coming through Uxbridge, that can submit a service request or notify us of issues, whether it's a pothole, a tree down, a sign down, street light out, things of that nature. You can take a picture, you input a little bit of information right from pull down menus and submit it, and it goes right into our system. So it's another avenue that will be available to the public to be able to help us do our job a little bit better. We actually recently hired a new employee in the administration office, Nancy Centrella. She came over from the library. She's filling a void that we've been kind of struggling to keep active in the Department of Public Works, and she is there to do everything Public Works related. She's a definite asset to Kathy Tessier that's there, and the two of them together are doing a great job and keeping the front of the house active and moving forward. They're outside of my frontline supervisors. They are my office supervisors because they are the ones that keep me in check and make sure that things are addressed in a timely fashion. Moving on out of the administration, highway, we are always busy. And I'm smiling and giggling here because when I kind of typed this up last night and this morning, you kind of take for granted the things that you just do. I wouldn't have thought twice about Marcia saying something about the flagpole out front because they're just doing it, and there are so many things that until you have a conversation with somebody or you write it down, you don't realize exactly, what you've done. So with that being said, it is the season. I know it's a little bit warm out, but winter is on its way. We're into the first week of November. Paul's been working very hard with the current contractors for this year and getting plow contracts set up, getting everything lined up, snow plow routes, all the vehicles inspected, and having things ready to roll for the winter. One of the things that I'm a little behind on, but I plan on doing a test run this year is with some automatic vehicle location technology. And I know there are a lot of people out there that the first thing they think about is, Big Brother wants to know where people are. That's actually not the thought process anymore. What people are really utilizing this technology for is to respond to citizens. That is the biggest point that can be made for this technology. It's not, where were you at this time? It's, hey, we had a call about South 21 South Main Street at this time that hasn't been addressed, or 147 Heckler Street. We haven't seen a plow here for 4 hours. With this new technology, because it's GPS based, we could go in and look at a breadcrumb trail and find out exactly where people have been, when they've been there. And depending on the level of system that you get, there's a multitude of information or data points that we could gather, which we're not really looking to get into that level. I just want the ability to be able to see and make those long range projections on storm completion and when we'll be able to wrap up the operations. So that'll be something that we're going to be rolling out to both the contractors and our internal vehicles. That will hopefully ultimately roll into just our daily operations and better accountability for the use of our equipment, to go into capital planning as far as the use of that equipment and the age and kind of tying everything together. Again, winter season, there will be winter sand available, a sand salt mix. That's located right up between the garage and the administration office, actually much closer to the administration office. So don't forget that is there, and if there's somebody around, we will always help out. But don't forget your bucket and shovel. That's part of the deal, since it is out there and kind of isolated a little bit. You can back your vehicle up, but it is there for the taking for the residents. Some other notable things that we've been dealing with here as of late is stormwater. I know I've briefly talked about that, and it's not as exciting as many of the things that you see out there construction-wise, but it's something that we've had to deal with in the shadows for a long time. Actually, since 2003 officially, with the permit that we have through the U.S. EPA. But we just recently received a new permit going into the new permit cycle, and that's required us to update some of our plans, some of our mapping, and we've been working on that effort through some funding at Springtown meeting. We were able to get some funding from the town, thank you, to help us in that regard and move towards maintaining our compliance with that permit. And the bigger, more exciting work that I'm really looking forward to is paving. We were a little late this year in getting our recommended plan to the board, which they approved back in August. We're looking to spend roughly about $690,000 this year of our current monies, which include the fiscal year 18 monies, our Chapter 90 monies, and a little bit of rollover money from the previous year. But we also have the recent approval from town meeting of the additional $400,000 to go towards the road program. So that will be instrumental in allowing us to see some notable improvement in the roads. Based on our planning, our engineering that we've been involved with over the years, we need essentially matching funds from what we get from the state to be able to see a noticeable or an appreciable betterment in the road system. So this is a first step in trying to achieve that. So I would say by the end of the fiscal year, we will be very close to have completed roughly $1 million worth of work. So be aware, next spring, once the snow melts, there will be a wide variety of roadway work going on. There was a question up front. How much money do we get from the state? We get, this year and the last 2 years, it's been about $510,000, $512,000. So it's like I said, it's instrumental to us achieving the goal of actually bettering the overall road grade or road rating for our whole network within town. And then last but not least, on the highway side, the Route 122 reconstruction project is still underway. I know it seems very quiet. We've been working towards our 100% design submission. What does that mean? We're almost done with the design. The northern section, which again goes from the center of town up to CVS, that is already programmed for state construction funding. They call the TIP. That will be bid late in the summer with Mass DOT, and Mass DOT will be constructing that project. At the same time, the southern portion, which goes from the center of town down to the bridge at the Blackstone, over the Blackstone on Millville Road, that will be programmed here shortly. Our goal is to have the complete design done so that when another town on another programmed tip year, they call it, when they fall off the list for funding, we will be able to slide right in and get that programmed earlier than anticipated. The total project cost for that is over around the $9.5 million mark. That's the reason why we split that into 2 projects. The actual construction money, the question was, does that money come from the state? The construction monies actually come from the federal government, and those are dispersed and apportioned out to all the states, and then the state DOTs then apportion that out based on the regions, and each region has a certain amount of money. So to give you an idea, I think Jen Modica can probably give me the exact number, but I want to say for the central region where we're at, it's roughly in the $15 million. Yeah, around $15 million. So when you think about it, trying to push a project that's over $9 million when there's 50-something communities in the central region, it's a tough endeavor. So we worked with Mass DOT, our regional planning office, and the MPO on splitting that. Our region only, $15 million. Yeah. So the funding aspect is a tough element, and that's where our politicians come into play, and they can definitely help us out in trying to make sure that we end up higher on the list. Our water division, the water division, they tend to be kind of the unseen ones. They are the mostly seen outside a highway, but at the same time, you don't really see them that much. We did wrap up what I'll say is the first phase of the Route 122 water main project. There was some final work that was done over the summer to kind of close that out. And the reason why I say that was the first phase, there are still monies left available in that project to continue on. So the section of 122 that was completed goes from CVS down to High Street. And we, through excavation work, you always find out what you don't really know when you start digging. And we discovered some new information going from High Street south. So we have approximately, I think it was over $700,000 left in that project. And we're trying to work a very economical way to upgrade services to residents and businesses down South Main Street and down Millville Road, and try to see how far we can get to our original goal, which was to get around down to Susan Parkway. There's some old aged water mains down there, actually 2, one on either side, that are the reason for that whole project, or one of the many reasons for that whole project. So we're still trying to identify the things that we don't know, which is the scary part. So that's still in the works. We are also working with our consultant on doing some minor water main projects here in town. One is a critical project for us, and then the other one is it's a critical project, but not on the same level as the first one. The first one is a reconnection of the water main over underneath the West River. There was an old water main that went down Hecla Street. It branched off Old Elmdale, and then it went under the river. That water main is part of the original water distribution system that was put in. And a few years back, it was leaking very, very bad into the West River. So we ended up terminating that, and we've been working a number of avenues to try to get that back into play. And it's integral to supporting the eastern side of town, including Blackstone Street, East Street, which we know has ongoing issues. And the reason why it's taken so long is originally we had been working with Mass DOT on the Hecla Street Bridge. That bridge, the state came in and approached us and said, hey, we have some money, and we want to do the design and construct these improvements for you, which I was very happy to hear. When it was all said and done and they completed the design and the permitting, they had run out of money because this was a maintenance job, and then they approached me at the DPW and wanted to know if we could provide roughly about $800,000 worth of funds to get that project undertaken. unfortunately, at the time, that was basically 2 years of Chapter 90 money, and there was no way that that was possible. But as part of that design, we were working with them to be able to hang the water main on the top part of that structure. But again, that bridge did not really come to fruition, or hasn't yet. I'm still working on it. But that was one option, and then we started pursuing other options. And again, you start looking at subsurface data and information, and costs quickly escalated. So we put a hold on it, but that's back on the table because we have to get that done. And the other project is looking at the section of water main on East Hartford Ave. I know we all know the condition of East Hartford Ave from CVS up to roughly Crown and Eagle. Well, I can say that the water main replacement there will expedite the road repairs, because I can't in good faith pave over that when I know we have utilities that need to be addressed. So we're going to be working on the design here shortly. And my goal is to be able to do both of those projects. And funding for those two projects, we've had on the books for just a little bit. Those were monies that we repurposed from prior capital projects. For example, the High Street tank and the water mains associated from that. I forget the year, but when there was about $200,000 left in those appropriations. And then the Rosenfeld well and the Quaker Highway water mains, there was a roughly $800,000 left in that project. We repurposed those and put those into a water capital account. So if things go as planned, and we are fortunate enough to one, get the designs done and get favorable bids, we should have both of those projects done, next year. And then that will lead me to getting the East Hartford Ave stretch programmed in our Chapter 90 program to get that squared away. Yep. So Gene was just making a point. There is a lot to really consider when it comes to pavement. I know I'm jumping back to highway, but that's what we're really going to be seeing as we move more and more of that roadway work into the town. I say into the center, where you're dealing with sidewalks, you're dealing with other utilities, and coordinating those utilities is a big key. That's like a big effort with Eversource, the gas company. We work with them multiple times throughout the year on planned projects, so they can plan their projects accordingly and get it done before you go out and do a road project, which a lot of people don't realize. Once we do a road project, we have a moratorium on any road cuts on that road for 5 years, unless it's a dire emergency. And that's due in part because we don't want, after the fact work to be coming out from the gas company. A little cut here, a little cut there. That leads to rideability problems, as you all know, when you drive over these patches. Douglas Street, big example. Trying to get these projects programmed, get them done. They're baby steps. I mean, there is no shortage of projects. I can attest to that. And Jen can attest to that too, because I've been in front of them many times, letting them know, what the needs are. The last big thing under the water division, and we have been working, I know it doesn't seem like there's been much going on, but back in the spring, through a transfer, we allocated some monies for a meter change-out program. And the reason for that is these meters have met their useful life. And on top of that, we are looking to go to some new technology in these meters. Basically, we're looking at a tube with no moving parts. And that's good for us in many ways. Less problems with the functioning of a meter. They're not prone to clogging. For us, it's good because it maintains our reading ability on those meters and making sure we're accounting for that, because I know it sounds like it's more geared at a billing perspective, but we are held to a very tight standard when it comes to unaccounted for water, and that actually has a lot to do with the efficiency of our meters. We measure the water as it comes out of the ground. We measure the water on the opposite end for the consumption aspect, and we got to make sure that balances, and what doesn't balance is unaccounted for water. Understanding there's fires, there are water main breaks, service breaks, and flushing that we do as part of our maintenance program. But all told, this meter program will help us better serve the customer, and there will be functionality in this. Again, with technology, I mean, technology is great, but there will be functionality in this that people will be able to see more real-time data without even getting your bill. There will be options for apps on your phone, access through computers, to be able to get more real-time data. And one of the biggest complaints that I've received over the years is the fact that we do quarterly billing, and in the event that you've had an issue that may have started at the beginning of the quarter, it could be 3 to 4 months before you realize there's a problem. And unless you have water bubbling up in your front yard, or you got water bubbling up out of your walls, you wouldn't know necessarily that there's a water problem. And these new technologies, they have all sorts of metrics that you can use and follow and set personally for you. And it'd be great for people that go away for the winter. You can set alarms on these to notify you when the temperature drops below a certain temperature, so that you can have somebody check out your house if you're not home. But that'll be something that we're going to be pushing out this winter. This winter is going to be a very busy time for me in preparing contracts and getting them out on the street late winter, so that all this work can start in the spring as soon as the snow falls, or not falls, melts, goes away. And hopefully if the chief is right in his projections on winter, we should have a late winter, and hopefully not as bad as the almanac is saying. But the meter change-out program, it'll be a two-part process. We have to procure those meters, and then we want to make sure they get done in a timely fashion, because our read system is on the very ancient end of things. And for the sake of Kathy and my office that deals with the water and sewer billing, our goal would be to have this done at one time, over the course of a year or less, and that change out to occur, so that we have no multiple systems that we're going to have to manage. So it'll be a long process once it starts, but once we get it out on the street and get things going, I think it'll be a great thing for us and for the public. And then wastewater division. A lot going on with the wastewater division. They're always the unseen guys unless there's really a problem. And I would use some other choice words, but they're just not appropriate, because it is what it is. But you know things are bad when you see the green truck, actually the white trucks now, and the wastewater guys are in front of your house. It's really hit the fan at that point. No pun intended. But a lot has been going on. A lot of work you just don't see. We've been active this past year. We made sure, we had to, through some agreements with DEP. There's a thing called inflow and infiltration. And what that means essentially is we had to do an investigation of our system to find out where we have problems in that system that would let clean water in. Because clean water in the sewer system means that we have to treat it at the treatment plant. And the less clean water that's in there, why treat clean water, right? You see the logic? So this I&I work, we call it entailed a number of things. Some may have seen crews out during the summer, and they were doing smoke testing. So they put a little machine that blows smoke down into the sewers, and it hopefully, when all things are good, it comes out the vent pipe on top of the buildings or on top of your house. At times, it doesn't go the way it's supposed to, and we find out that there have been problems with the way things were plumbed in houses or in businesses, when the people tend to come out of their house with it's not real smoke, it's a vapor that they end up putting in there, but it helps us identify those deficiencies within the system. And then based on that work, we are planning the repair work that we need to undertake to fix those problems. That led to one of the bigger projects that we proposed this year, our Burnett Interceptor. And many people don't realize, but actually right behind this office is the main interceptor. It's a 30-inch sewer main that flows all the way down to the treatment plant. And we discovered there was some structural failure occurring in an isolated location. And as you know, back here behind us, or actually across the river, I mean, there's a lot of resource area out there. You have the river, you have a variety of wetlands and other resource areas that, are needed to be protected. So it's critical that we make sure that this doesn't go any farther as far as a catastrophic event. So we have been undertaking a kind of an investigation phase on the limits of where that problem is and how we're going to best fix it. We've done some additional work with the force main, and a force main is just a pressure sewer. We have a pump station located behind the DPW that essentially services the northeast quadrant of the town, and that pumps it across the river out to this interceptor that I had mentioned previously. And we've discovered some issues with that. If anybody has seen any of the issues that Plymouth is dealing with and has been for the past year plus, they have spent, I want to say they got to be close to the $70 million mark on a force main, and this is a major force main that they have that runs like 5 miles from their treatment facility, but there were catastrophic failures. So I'd like to say that we have started our investigative process well in advance of any problems that may come out of this. So, but just to give you an idea, that was big when that hit the papers, and they're still dealing with that. They're still in the fix phase of trying to address those issues. I'm not saying we're there. We are nowhere close to that. But it just gives you an idea that, infrastructure is a huge component. And a lot of what we have is out of sight, out of mind. You don't know there's something there or there's a problem until it needs to be dug up. So we're actively working on that. And actually, that's where I was before coming to lunch here, as we were kind of going over some scenarios on how we're going to address those projects and get those out to bid before the end of the fiscal year and constructed. So things are very active in what I'll consider as the collection system, which is everything outside the treatment plant, which leads us to the treatment plant. The treatment plant is very, very active. Back in April, I'm trying to think of what phase we were in April. I think we were still in the bid phase, but those projects have been awarded. We have, there's 2 projects, the treatment plant and then that pump station I mentioned earlier right behind the DPW. The DPW project, the pump station, we're in the submittal phase, we'll call it. It's just a pump station replacement, albeit a big one. So the lead time on that and the review of all those documents and submittals takes some time. So the actual hard construction work will occur this spring. The treatment plant, like I said, there's a lot of activity. I threw a couple of pictures down at the bottom to give you some idea. And I know it's hard to imagine really what's going on down there unless you've been down there. But it started in very isolated locations, but it is now moving very rapidly across the site. We have large excavations going on. We have a lot of concrete work, new tanks, new foundations going in for various structures. There was a little bit of a slow start, at least from a physical construction standpoint, but there was a large amount of work being done behind the scenes, submittals and the documents needed to be able to perform that work. So we have a very, very capable team between myself, the wastewater division. Jim Legg, my wastewater supervisor, has played an instrumental role and day-to-day coordination with the contractor on site and making sure that facility stays in operation. And I'll give you a quick analogy. So if you can imagine driving that 1970 wagon, right, which was state-of-the-art back in 1970. We're still driving that wagon now in 2017, right? So as we're driving it going down the highway, we're having to do some brake work. We're having to change tires. We're having to change the oil. We're having to do all these various things while we're driving down the road. That's what's having to be done with the treatment plant. We have to maintain that treatment plant in operation. So the sequencing and the coordination, not just with the contractor's physical work, they really have to take into account what is going on and with the operation of the plant. And that's where the staff is really stepping up and providing that level of support to the contractor. But yeah, like I said, it's actively going. It's great to go down there. I see something new every day, and we find things that we didn't know every day. Construction. But I'm happy to say that for the $44.8 million that was appropriated at town meeting, we actually have real numbers now because we've opened bids. We've executed our agreements with the funding agencies. So out of that 44.8, we originally thought it was going to be about a 2/3 to 1/3 break in the funding. And the break has to do with 2% loans and 0% loans. We originally planned for 2% on the high side. So like 2/3 of that 44 was going to be for the improvements needed that would be part of a 2% loan to the town. And then 0% for the remaining, which free money, I guess, if you want to put it into perspective. However, now that we've executed all those documents, it's swayed the other direction. So the 2% portion is the smaller portion, which is great for the end users. It's great for the town. So we're looking at a funding breakdown of roughly $13.6 million that's going to be covered under a 2% loan with the Clean Water Trust. And then the remaining 26.2 is on the 0% side, and that's actually made up of two components, one being a 0% loan through the Clean Water Trust, as well as a 0% federal grant that came in at the 11th hour during the bid portion. So that's good news for us because that just totally swung the funding component to the other side, which is ultimately results in savings. I know it's still $44.8 million, but it still results in some savings that we weren't anticipated. And we're still on schedule. I know we're in the beginning phase of the project, but we do have a commitment to the EPA and having that completed in 2020. And we're well on our way to achieving that. So a lot going on. These are just some of the highlights, but I could definitely come up here and talk to you about just many, many topics. But I will answer any questions that you may have.
When are we going to get good water back? We haven't had good water since the break in North Uxbridge. You go on social media, everybody's buying bottled water, so your meters aren't even going to be worthless unless you get some good water in town. We always had wonderful water in Uxbridge till that break.
So water. Most recently, the issues that were being thrown around on social media had to do with the flushing. We always do flushing. Every community that has a water system will perform flushing of the system, and what that does is we go around and we open and shut valves to get the water to flow in different directions. And the purpose of that is to clean the water mains, and then we flush that water out. Always done during the night. Obviously, there are some people that will be impacted by that, that are on a different schedule. So the immediate concern that a lot of people had voiced had to do with that, and it was the
Turn your faucet on and you get the whiff of chlorine in your face.
Chlorine. Unfortunately, on the chlorine front, we're well on our way to doing 100% chlorine. It's inevitable. I know I'm not a big fan of it, but it's the reality. And ever since we had the bacteria hit Father's Day weekend of 2016, the DEP, the regulations that are out there, the frequency of having a violation, and a violation would be like that bacteria hit that we had that Father's Day weekend, that puts you into a different tier as far as your monitoring of the system. We are currently still one of the few left in the Commonwealth that does not chlorinate. Which has been good, and it gets back to what you were saying about the quality of water. I can say the quality of the water is still very good. On occasion...
You can't even make a cup of tea. It tastes terrible if you use it out of the cloth.
I wish I had a better answer for you. I'm unfortunately a product of living in other parts of the country and other parts of the Commonwealth, and maybe I'm just accustomed to it. For what it's worth,
So you're saying we're always gonna have this chlorine from now on?
The chlorine, we've been approached by Mass DEP, and we will most likely have to be 24/7, 7 days a week on the chlorine. That's just. I mean that is an unfortunate. I mean the water consumption is down as it is with the drought. The drought from last year, even the current year, people don't realize it, but the water levels have been down. Until the rain we just had, we were many inches under normal. And quite frankly, the state had just issued a first tier drought advisory leading into these last two rainstorms, which we obviously got a fair amount of water in a short period of time. I think it was like roughly 8 inches of water precipitation. But that's something that is evolving, and I will be definitely presenting to the board going forward what the plans are to deal with that, and potential future treatment options, which are also coming down the pipe from Mass DEP. They are constantly changing the regulations and tightening them up. And the issue from a water quality perspective that we see in the region, not just in Uxbridge, is iron and manganese, and that's that dark, rusty, purpley color that you get out of the water. That's just naturally occurring, and the only way to take that out is through filtration. And we've always been under the limits. However, it's getting closer, and it's just a matter of time before a real look at treatment is going to be needed here in town. Yep.
Should we use our water? Should we boil our water?
Nope. The water is completely safe. We have very stringent water quality standards that we have to follow. We do monthly bacteriological sampling. We do semi-annual sampling and annual sampling for a variety of parameters out there. The water is safe. We do publish by law. We're supposed to publish on an annual basis. I get some water quality report, and we have in the office. I don't think they're all up on the website. The most current year, I think the last 2 years are, but we do have copies of those in our office, and they are included in the bill, I believe, when the report comes out in the June timeframe. So that would be July bill, I believe. But the water is safe to drink. At times, it could be aesthetically not pleasing, and I understand the concerns with the chlorine. Next time I will bring my water supervisor to be able to answer more technical questions. But
Yeah, the bills are going up, but the water's getting worse.
point taken. So, all right. If there's no other questions, I'll hand it back to Marcia.
Great job. I just want to thank Benn and thank everybody at our DPW and our wastewater treatment plant for keeping our water. It's a precious resource, and for monitoring all of that, for driving that 1970s wagon down the road and keeping that up and going while you're converting over to the new plant. It's amazing what these guys do, and he's right. It's unseen. And so we forget about it. We just go to our faucet and turn our water on and expect it to be there. We just flush our toilets and expect them to work. But that wouldn't be happening, folks, without our DPW and our wastewater treatment. Yes, Dr. Lutton? Yes. Yes, my goodness. I'm so proud to work with all of you.
I grew up as the son of the water commissioner in a western Pennsylvania town. And there's a big sign in the water in his office. Water is free. Water is free. You may take your bucket and go down to the Mumford and pull out a bucket and take it home, and it's free. What you're paying for is the transportation of that water from the Mumford or wherever we get it, the wells, to the stations, the purification. That is what we're paying for. So remember, water is free. You can put your bucket out when it rains. You could collect it 8 inches last week. Thanks.
Good point. There is a lot happening under the roads that Ben has to keep his finger on the pulse of all these things. And I want to thank you for taking your time out to put together this beautiful flyer. Read it over, folks. And if you have any questions, think about all this new technology, the see it, click it, and fix it. Wow, that's something really to look forward to. It's a big town. We can't always know what's happening in everybody's neighborhood, but this new technology will help, and I thank you for all of that. So thank you for coming out. We always learn something new when you're here, Ben. This was a great topic to discuss today. So thank you so much. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Thank you all.